Greetings, everyone. Greetings, everyone. This is Lost and Found Faith. Thank you for joining the podcast. Oops, I think there's an echo going on. Wait, oh my goodness. Bear with me for 1 second. I got to see where this echo is coming from. I'm hearing a couple of things going on in my... Oh, here we go. That's it. There it is. I found it. Sorry about that. What's going on, folks? Welcome to Lost and Found Faith. This is really going to be an interesting show. Thank you for joining me on this very interesting topic that I feel like God has really convicted. Hey, Elizabeth, what's going on? Show your love in the chat. This is Lost and Found Faith, and I'm still kind of finding my groove with creating content and uploading content on a regular basis. But please trust, I am getting into the groove like Madonna. I am such a millennial, and you will be seeing more regular content coming from me very, very soon. But let's get back to the matter at hand. This show topic is really something that I think is very timely and very important to me in the sense that we're talking about objectivity and bias and forming opinions. In this clickbait world, there's so many things that grab our attention. It's really easy to be outraged and to jump into cancel culture when something happens online, something happens in the news. It's kind of designed that way to bring out outrage, not necessarily information. And it can become problematic, and at times it can become sinful. So I wanted to just discuss that and also use myself as a case study to discuss these topics. If you looked in the comments or the description of this video below, I'm going to be talking about clickbait culture, seeing your objectivity, seeing your bias, and really creating an informed opinion and belief system around modern day subjects and topics in a godly way. But how many of y'all know it takes some time to get there? It takes some time to get there. But at the last minute, this is really exciting. It's really exciting. I was not planning on this until maybe two hours ago. But I'm not in this conversation by myself, y'all. I have a very special guest that will be joining me. Coming out of the retirement, just drove in with his X5. It's live from the X5. The one and only. Hold up. Let me add him to the screen. Not your typical Negro. What? Kevin Oliver.
What?
What's going on? What's going on, Kev?
Hey, how's it going, Jim?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me on this conversation that we're going to be talking about. I just want to introduce my guest for this live stream. And in some ways, I'm kind of outing myself as a way. Kevin Oliver, aka Not Your Typical Negro. He has been an advocate for apologetics and balance and a crusader against spiritual abuse for many, many years. And we have actually collaborated in the past. What's going on, Mike? Salty Grits King. Yeah, we're going to pray for you, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
And actually, I might have to tag team you on this live stream too, once you see what we're going to be talking about. But I'm going to say that for later. Let me introduce my guest, Kevin Oliver. I've known Kevin for many, many years. Back in the day, before YouTube and was so super accessible, and there were a lot of apologetic people putting out content, Kevin and I worked together on a very viral show on Blog Talk Radio called Church Folk Revolution. My handle, which I'm actually officially mentioning, was Sister Liberty.
Yes,
And
Sister Liberty. Oh,
Sister
sorry. I'm
Liberty.
sorry. I got excited for a
Okay.
minute.
And we did these shows where it was not a church show, it was a show about church. We talked about many, many topics, exposed a lot of pimp preachers, so to speak. Um, we made a lot of shows. It was much needed. Looking back, there were some things that I would wish I would have done differently. But it was part of the process of coming out of churchianity and spiritual abuse. And through that journey, we helped a lot of people. We gave voice to a lot of people that were silent. And that's where Kevin and I met and did a lot of our work together. So now I'm so happy to have you, Kevin, with me
Well, you
discussing
forgot
this
you
topic.
forgot one of the best things. We found out that both of us are located in the ATL.
ATL, yes, we
Deuces
did.
up, A Town down. Okay, let me
All day
stop.
long. That's right. But uh, we are going to discuss this topic um, uh, of being objective or being biased. So let's just
Mhm.
jump in. The reason why this topic is very sensitive to me is that even in my own Bible study, in my own um, leveling up and really applying the word to my life, I'm trying to see where my sin is. Because I'm not out here murdering people. I'm not over here lying and cheating and sleeping around, all these little big sins. But what I'm finding is that one of the most insidious sins that everybody deals with, but it's so hard to recognize, is pride. All right. And pride keeps me from admitting when I'm wrong. Pride keeps me from acknowledging and dealing with my mistakes.
Mhm.
Pride keeps me from learning new things. And pride makes me entitled to form opinions quickly and give full voice to my opinions before I know the facts. Very guilty of that. And recently, there have been three topics that have been very viral in the public space that has confronted my pride. If I'm being objective, or am I being biased? And really having is an opportunity to work out the pride in my life, but not just stay in this season of analysis paralysis, but coming to a conclusion, but watching out for my pride because I do have a way of being snarky. Like one example of me being snarky is talking about a person who likes salty grits, like Michael Williams. I'm not mentioning any names. He's a salty grits kind of a guy. I actually read the Bible, so that means I put sugar on my grits. We're gonna pray for Michael because he does his production. He's a wise brother in the Lord, but it's one of those kinds of things where we're gonna have to separate. Because Paul, I'm gonna go over here with Paul, and he's gonna go over there with the
And the
people who
goat.
read. All we're gonna have to separate. But that's what we're gonna be talking about. That's how my snarkiness and my pride comes out. But I'm repenting. I'm not gonna talk about his salty grits at least for a little while. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. So let me just throw the mic to you, Kev, and just if you could give us a little bit background about who you are, what you are, and then we can start talking about this topic of being objective and being
Oh,
biased. Yeah.
you know what? I'm nobody important. I'm in your house. My name's Kevin, and as Jennifer explained years ago, we worked together on a project, Church Folk Revolution Radio, and then a few years before that, starting in 2007, I began blogging on YouTube. And I created this moniker called "Not Your Typical Negro." I can go into what it's supposed to mean and what the name was designed for, but um, that it allowed me to engage with quite a few people on the YouTube platform
Mm-hmm.
in the sort of in the apologetic space. So kind of just taking the word, like examining the state of the church, examining kind of just
Mm-hmm.
the sort of like the main teachings in the church, and kind of like just taking a look at what and comparing it to scripture.
Right.
A lot of times it meant calling out preachers' names, which wasn't popular back then, getting
Right.
death threats, getting cease and desist letters from the pastors, attorneys, and etc. So in Church Folk Revolution, working together with Jennifer, we were kind of on the forefront of that kind of movement, right?
Right. Back in the
And
day.
back in the day, and
Mm-hmm.
so uh, happy to see other people are still engaging in that kind of work. They're doing it a lot more creatively, and so
Yeah.
uh, happy to see what's going on out here.
That's right. I just put
Yep.
his YouTube channel in the comments section, so please go check out his YouTube channel. And also, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. 3P special, as Dear Will Christian would say. And let's go ahead and get into this.
Let's do it.
Objectivity or am I biased? There are three topics that I want to talk about using that filter of am I objective or am I being biased? And there are three viral controversies that have been going on in our space recently. The first one I want to talk about is John MacArthur and Julie Roys. This is a very recent controversy that has been viral for, how long has it been, Kev? Like 3-4 weeks?
It's kind of been, going around for a couple of months.
And let me just talk about my bias when it comes to this, and then how I'm working through it, how I worked through it, and then maybe you can share too. A quick little summary of what's been going on. Julie Roys has a website called The Roys Report. She has been a author and a journalist that has made her reputation on exposing spiritual abuse, or she has written a lot of articles on like the Ravi Zacharias situation. She's exposed a couple of people, and so it kind of reminded me of what we did back in the day with Church Folk Revolution. I'm definitely, my bias slants more towards the whistleblowers and holding the church accountable for things. And then John MacArthur is the pastor of Grace Community Church. I forgot where it's located.
In California.
A theologian, a pastor, very biblically sound in a lot of ways. He's written so many books. My dad has a MacArthur study Bible that he uses all the time. Very established, very greatly esteemed, and rightfully so. And so what happened is that Julie Roys has been doing a number of pieces, articles on him. And most recently, it's about an experience that Elaine Grays had 20 years ago as a member of the church. Long story short, it's already too late. Her husband was physically abusive. They went through counseling, and they went through a process with the church. Ultimately, she was, I guess, as Julie Roys would put it, she was counseled to forgive her husband, go back to him. She wouldn't. She moved. He divorced her. Later found out that he was not only physically abusive, but sexually abusing the kids. He was convicted, went to jail, sitting in jail right now. That's what the surface says. But it was this huge expose all across social media. Now let me talk about, that's the situation. My bias, Kev, is Julie Roys. She's a journalist. Yes, Ravi Zacharias. Yes, this is something that I would do. Write all these articles, put it all out there. Let me find out. So I was kind of quick because I wasn't necessarily a super John MacArthur fan. I knew of him, but I certainly wasn't caping for him. But my bias is towards, I'm a recovering woke person. I'm the quick person to like, oh, outrage. Let me advocate. Let me be demonstrate. That's where my slant goes. But I got to rein that in a little bit to see what's going on. What was your experience when you first heard about this, Kev?
So I just heard a lot of chatter. I kind of I'm not as plugged into a lot of the discussions and talking about what's going on in Christendom, American evangelicalism that much, like I used to be, but I do hear about things here and there on Twitter. So I did heard some rumblings about John MacArthur and because I always hear rumblings about John MacArthur, but with respect to Julie Roys, I heard about these reports that she had done some reports, and I actually posted a couple of those Julie Roy's articles in the chat room.
Oh, I think that was a private chat.
Oh,
I'll put it in the public one. Go ahead.
okay.
Okay.
And so if you go to her website, you'll see some articles that are, that kind of made the rounds on Twitter and all over social media.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, he was involved in, or allegedly he was accused of participating in a cover up of a pastor's sexual abuse.
Right.
And I also heard something along the lines of that there's some rhetoric in the church that by one of the staff members, or it's accepted teaching in that church, allegedly, that a wife should endure abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of like the headline items around this issue.
Yeah, and those are the headlines, and those are the things that are being said. So of course we see headlines.
Yes.
Headlines are not books. Headlines is not research. Headlines are there to capture your attention.
Correct.
So this talking about being objective or being biased, I already know my bias leans towards advocating for those who I perceive as being abused or just what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, I'm showing my age. Anyway, the for the underdog, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but working on my pride, working on my maturity. Here's a scripture that comes to mind. Stop judging by mere appearances, but instead judge correctly. John 7:24.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean for my bias? I had a number of my friends and colleagues. It was divisive. Like I would get upset because it seemed like people were quick to dismiss Julie Roy's and what she was saying because they were John MacArthur fans.
Right.
And then that was frustrating with me. And then just me being oh, dear Will Christian, what's up, man? I see you in the comments. But then hey, you just came right on time. Dear Will Christian, Jason, really good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He was challenging my thinking as far as, well, let's look at this lady and what are her motives? Why is she doing this? And that made me even angrier because it's like, it's not a matter. What is it? Did it happen or did it not happen?
Yeah, is it true or not?
Is it true or not?
Yeah.
And that made me back to the whole revolution thing. Like, is it true or not? Just respond. Right. And then it triggered all this other stuff in the past, like of people who are very popular and have the upper hand, just using the power of silence to shoo people away. So I was triggered all over the place. Mm-hmm. But come to find out, I'm going to give some dear Will Christian some shine. Jason, if you could put a link to your series, he's doing this series on Julie Roy's reading her book that came out in 2017. Right. I advise everybody to check this out. Motives matter. I wish that could be like a little header under there, but stop judging by mere appearances. If you judge by mere appearances, you would just eat everything that Julie Roy is spilling out. Just, you would just be sipping all the tea right there.
Right.
And you would. And I'm not saying that I still don't have questions about what went down 20 years ago.
Right.
But to not judge by mere appearances and judging correctly means, why is she saying what she's saying and how is she saying it?
Right.
You found out some things recently too, Kev, when you were kind of checking that out, right?
I did. But if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit about what you were just discussing about the importance of motives.
Right.
Right. So I like what you said about motives being very, very important. Motives is just as important as truth, as the truth of a matter. And so in the church today, there is I've encountered a lot of people in ministry in various forms who who are very big on truth. Of course, truth is important. It's a scriptures teach us as Christians, we should love the truth. We know that the Holy Spirit is the spirit of truth, that we are, the scriptures talk about speaking the truth in love. And so there's a lot of values regarding truth. However, the handling of the truth, particularly with this, you've heard of this concept of the ends justifies the means. Right. Which is not a Christian value. So in other words, the scriptures don't teach us that that the ends justify the means, that we're to do anything and everything to achieve what we believe to be a righteous result, right? So, for example, we can't just go kill somebody because, we think they're going to be an evil person one day, so we have to kill this person to save the world. That's a bad example, but
that's all Moon Knight on. Are you watching Moon Knight?
I haven't gotten to it yet. First I got to deal with the rest of Ozark tonight, and then I'll probably get to Moon Knight tomorrow. Anyway, back to the word. Yeah. But to quickly make my point, telling the truth. So there's a way that we can get carried away with telling the truth so much and giving people the truth and reporting the truth so much that because we think we're achieving a righteous motive just simply because we're dispensing truth.
Right.
But there's a way you can handle truth and dispensing truth with an impure motive.
Right.
Where you can damage people, you can damage your credibility, you can damage the credibility of the church. I mean, so there's something to be said about motives.
Right.
So motives matter. I like that.
Yeah. It just that was in one of my blind spots. And again, talking about dealing with my pride, it was one of my blind spots, and it was irritating me because I didn't really care about the motives. I just wanted to find out what it was happening. But when you dig deeper and you check out Julie Roy's motives and her approach, there is room for critique and discernment. To the best of my knowledge, she's never done an interview with anybody that hasn't been easy. She's always giving these speeches, but never a debate. Right. Because if you try to debate somebody who is going to fairly challenge you on certain things, you should be able to withstand criticism and examination. A lot of the headlines that she posts are clearly misleading. Her motive, as you kind of look into, just really check out Dear World Christians, his series on her, and I had to eat some humble pie to be open to it. But again, her motives are questionable because what I'm coming to the realization of when it comes to her is that she has a point to prove. It's almost like you have these preachers or people that have an agenda, and they're cotton picking from scriptures to see what supports their point that they're trying to make, but it's taking it out of context. It's out of context stuff, and the point that she's trying to make is it seems to me, and I'm saying this as loving as possible, that she wants to confront John MacArthur because she doesn't like his stance on women being pastors and preachers. And that is that is a biblical stance. That is a complementarian stance. She's the egalitarian, whatever that thing is, but she doesn't like that. So that's why he's on her hit list. And she can use this to kind of push the agenda. She's been bullying she's shown up and demanded notes from their church meetings. Like, who are you to ask me this? She and silence is deafening, even from John MacArthur, but also Elaine Royce. I haven't seen her do any interviews about thank you, Julie. That she's saying this is and the approach, how she's doing it, how it's a question in my mind, and her reporting can be a bit slanted. I would not have even thought about that had I not applied this. I'm gonna pass it to you, but another scripture that comes up when trying to be objective is embracing wise counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Just talking to people about it before you air everything before the world. But go ahead, what were you about to say?
Well, as we were speaking, I just the page real quick, and I clicked on the about link, and because the question came to my mind, well, what space when we talk about motives, what space is she in? Is she in ministry? Is she a journalist? Whatever. So her page says, the Royce Report is a Christian media outlet reporting the unvarnished truth.
Right.
And that's very interesting.
Right.
The unvarnished truth. What is that?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
About what's happening in the Christian community so the church can be reformed and restored. Okay. That's catchy, but that kind of needs to be fleshed out. What does that mean? But anyway, and then, but I'll stop here. And then founded by investigative journalist Julie Royce. Okay, right. So when we talk about motives and truth and operating in this social media platform space, being a Christian media outlet, what does that mean? Being a Christian blogger, what does that mean?
Right.
Being a Christian content creator.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What and are the standards for objectivity, for determining truth, for handling and delivering truth, are the standards the same for these different spaces as they are for a minister or a pastor? So it just kind of brings up some interesting things to think about.
Man, you're all up in my notes because this is one of three. The last one we're gonna get in there.
Okay.
But so I guess when it comes to the ever unfolding issue of John MacArthur, of Julie Royce, what really happened and what does it mean to me? I just want to be wise. I want to be godly. I want to be accountable, and I want to check my own sin.
I'll write that down.
When entering into this space. What I don't want to do is be like that little hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. It's very easy to just to be on the sideline, right? All that. I don't want to be that kind of person where it just takes too much time, or I just don't want to, I want to talk about everything that's not controversial because that's not what God's called us to be either.
Right.
I don't want to give Julie Royce a free pass, just like I don't want to give John MacArthur a free pass.
Right.
I was just triggered. I'm triggered by women Christians not being taken seriously when they raise their hand and say this happened to me. That's a trigger for me, but I can't use that same cookie cutter on everybody. If you're calling yourself a Christian content creator, you have to walk by that standard, just like you need to have John MacArthur walk by that standard. I want to know what happened. They're not, for whatever reason, they're not really saying anything. There could be a whole lot of reasons for that. But again, my bias goes towards there's something wrong. Where there's smoke, there's fire. But there may be legal situations that he can't talk about it. There may be some things that he's not trying to give Julie Royce no shine because she has all these other issues. There might be, I still feel like they should say something and just for the people that are watching, just to do a Johnny Depp and clear your name, even though it's messy. That's a whole nother thing. But what I will say, what does it mean for me? What lesson am I learning is that I have a bias and motives matter. I still want to find out what's going on, but my scales are becoming a little bit more even.
Mm-hmm.
When before Julie Roy's would be up here and John
Right.
MacArthur, yeah, go get him. I'm
Right.
be like, you know what? It's kind of more like here.
Mm-hmm.
I I am triggered by those kinds of things, but I want to. To me, there's a right side and a wrong side, but
Right.
maybe God's side is not what I
Right.
think it is,
Right.
and that it takes more time to get there. That's all I'm saying. Any
Right.
more comments on that Julie Roy's uh, John MacArthur thing before we go to point number 2?
No, we keep rolling.
Keep on rolling like a river.
Mm-hmm.
And again, comment section. Put your comments in there. What do you think about the Julie Roy's John MacArthur situation? What's your bias when it comes to that? How are you being objective? And if you haven't already, if you could go ahead and give me a like and a subscribe and put a comment in there, I sure would appreciate it. Again, if you look in the stream, I'm going to put in the chat room, if you really do like this conversation, go ahead and buy me a cup of coffee. If you want to support this channel, I'm putting, where's my link? I'm gonna put it in there. Somebody put that link in there. The If you buy me a cup of coffee, it's on the website and it's on. Look at me. This is why I'm still a newbie doing this stuff. But I'm looking to get some more equipment. I'm looking to uh, build this brand and build this channel. So if you enjoy the information that you are hearing, you can buy me a cup of coffee, like for like $3 on this website. Here it is. Come on. Here it is. I'm putting it in the chat. If you appreciate this these kind of conversations, there it is. Bam. Buy me a cup of coffee. Moving on.